Welcome to episode 44 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and this week I am excited to have my guest, Frederick Van Johnson from the This Week in Photo podcast. How you doing, Frederick?
I'm doing great. You know, frazzled like you are and everybody else is for this, you know, right before the holidays, but it's good.
Yeah. It's been a frazzle time for work, and I know we were both been pretty busy here, going on a lot of stuff, and we try to squeeze in as much as we can. You got you got a lot going on, so do I. So it's been an exciting time here for the end of the year here. So but I appreciate you being here. We're gonna talk a little bit about you, and I'll also be hitting in with what I do with all my new guests to find out what iOS gear you have in your bag. So that's what we do, is we talk iOS here. So topic this week, of course, and what a no-brainer, is iOS photography, because you do have a great course as well as a lot of other great knowledge of iOS photography. So I thought it'd be a good topic this week.
Perfect.
And then we do a little bit of news. We'll talk about that, and we got a couple apps and gear picks as well. So we'll just get right into it. So, the two news stories I had this week, and the news was kind of light this week. There wasn't a lot to talk about, which is probably a good thing. But Apple did seed the first public betas of iOS 12.1.2. Nothing real exciting, apparently, because they just released it about 6 days after 12.1.1 released, and looks like all we're really seeing is just some minor bug fixes. Apple really wasn't into much detail with that. A little more update with the eSIM support, which I talked about in the last episode. I don't know if you were familiar with that.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually pretty excited about that. I during my Apple user group discussion last Saturday, I talked pretty extensively about how eSIM is going to be pretty exciting, being able to have two phones in one, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Not have to carry two of your phones with you. And
well, the workaround to so far has been Google Voice, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a proper phone number in my phone. I can't imagine. That just seems like science fiction to me. So I can't wait to do it.
No, me too. So far, the carriers are on 100% on board right at this as we speak. During this recording is AT&T and Verizon. T-Mobile is not too far behind. Actually, I was talking to a support rep yesterday. She says, I can't say anything about it yet. I'm like, yeah, I pretty much know what you guys are going to do. So, I mean, it's just a matter of just officially announcing it. So I'm on T-Mobile, so I'll be excited to see what I can do.
Yeah, I'm AT&T. Yeah, I'm excited, and I think just to piggyback on that a little bit, I mean, you and I both, you know, and lots of people now, increasingly so, are entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and people that just sort of work for themselves versus working for a corporation. Not that there's anything wrong with working for a corporation, right? You know, with an asterisk, but you know, there's the necessity to have a business line and a home, you know, just a regular friends and family line, and for tax purposes and just for sanity purposes, not crossing those streams is important. And I'm excited to be able to do that, to have a different number on my business card and not have to rely on Google Voice for it,
or carry around multiple phones, where I see lots of people do that, which I think
I've never done that.
Crazy.
I refuse to carry multiple phones. I refuse.
Well, I don't know if you know Barry Falk. He's a good friend of mine, and he's a part of MacStock and a lot of that stuff. I don't think you know him, but he's a mobile guy. Shout out to Barry, because he's a good friend, and he carries around lots of phones with him, and he does Pokemon. And there's a picture of him on Facebook of him 4 phones across the way. He's Pokemoning all 4 with them. So I
couldn't get into that either. I mean, I must be old because I can't get into Pokemon. I've been trying to force myself into getting into Fortnite. I can't do it. I'm trying really hard. I want to understand what's so magical about it, but I can't do it.
We're very much alike. So anyway, not much else exciting to talk about the seeding of the public beta, so it'll be out soon. So it'll probably be a minor update. So the second story caught my eye. I don't know if you had a chance to see this story. An Apple Watch told a 46-year-old man that he had an irregular heartbeat, and it was right. So
I did not see that. So it helped somebody. That's awesome.
It did, yeah. This was on Good Morning America on ABC, and it was a 46-year-old man. He was a communications consultant from Richmond, Virginia, and he's active, does taekwondo, does all kinds of exercise, and no history of any problems. But when he got his new Apple Watch Series 4 and went through and did the update to the phone, to the watch, it kept telling him, it kept warning him that you have AFib, you have atrial fibrillation, and then just kept bugging him, and he just, this can't be. So he went and did it again, did the test, and sure enough, that's what it was showing on the watch. He goes to his doctor, and yes, he did have AFib. So
wow,
that's just
better living and life saving through technology. Now that makes me want to get one, because I have the previous version, and I wasn't planning on getting one. I bought my girlfriend one, but I wasn't planning on getting one for myself, because I was like, this one's just fine. But I'm getting up there, and why not have an extra safeguard? It couldn't hurt, right?
Yeah. I just bought one for my wife, and she loves it now. I mean, she had the Series 0, so we just got her the Series 4, and I already had my Series 4, of course, because I buy everything new. If you don't know me so well, but you'll get to know me.
That's cool. We're very similar. I'm getting the feeling we're very similar.
I think we are. We'll find out here in a second with your gear discussion I talk about here. So, but check out the story. Both these news stories are in the show notes. But yeah, it's just scary. But I'm very happy to have this Apple Watch, and it's monitoring me. I'm healthy. I'm good. So I don't think I have anything to worry about for now. Yep. But we're good. So let's go ahead and move to the topics of the day. And the first topic like I said, I always do with my show is I like to ask my guests what gear they have. And this is unique because a lot of the shows you probably go on to talk about anything, but I like to keep my show focused on iOS and discussions of what you do with iOS as far as any of your devices, as well as what you have. So go ahead and tell me which iPhone do you have?
Well, this is exciting, because this is one of the reasons I was excited that you invited me on, because I'm in this weird molting transitional period, right now. I think I would argue that many people are. But in my bag, typically, so I'm a photographer by trade and by vocation, right?
Yeah, go ahead and tell people about what your background is.
Yeah. So my background is I was a combat photojournalist in the United States Air Force for 8 years. I got out, and just to compress it down into, a nugget, got out, worked for Apple, worked for Adobe, managing photography projects from a marketing standpoint at those companies, as well as Yahoo, and then branched out and started This Week in Photo, and am in the process of trying to live happily ever after. So,
right. So, you and me both.
I'm chasing that happily ever after horizon line. But in terms of what's in my bag, photographers out there will understand this. We have an addiction to bags.
I'm a photographer too.
Yeah, there's never you can never have enough bags. There's always another bag that has something that you want in it. It's like I would imagine, not to sound sexist, but I would imagine this is the feeling that women get with Michael Kors and those kinds of purses and that kind of thing.
We're getting along really well. I have a really bad bag fetish too. You should see my closet full of bags I have. So.
I have a whole closet dedicated to just a mountain of camera bags. Many of them with the tag still on them. It's a problem. Your addiction has affected me in the following ways.
That's right.
But here's the cool thing, though. I had the revelation a couple of weeks ago, or actually a couple months ago, that I've been carrying around camera bags my entire life for the most part, and not shooting enough to make a camera bag my primary mode of stuff carriage, right?
Right.
So I started looking around, and I on Amazon on the laptop one night, and I found this bag from a company called eBags.
Yep.
And
good stuff.
So it's a backpack. I was looking for a backpack that I could just throw my stuff in and just, but I wanted one. I had some very specific needs. I need to be able to put my laptop in there, my MacBook Pro. I need to be able to put a tablet in there. I need place for assorted cables, especially now with the new MacBook Pro, right? So I needed cables and dongle storage and all that. And I found this eBags, and I got to tell you, man, it has been the best bag that I ever purchased. And the revelation from a photographer standpoint is they mark up these camera bag companies mark up their bags almost to an insane amount. Because I got this e-bag and I was expecting it to be like $200, $300. It was under $100 or something. And it's a beautiful bag and it's so cool that I'm like, maybe I should go buy another one in case these guys go out of business.
Yeah, that's right.
Just in case something happens to this bag, so I have a backup. But in terms of what's in it, you'd be surprised. I'm a minimalist. So inside my bag is from a iOS standpoint is a 11-inch iPad Pro, the new one.
Check with me.
So I've got that in there, and there's reasons behind me not getting the 12.9, but there's the 11-inch in there, and I love it to death with a keyboard cover on it. And then there's I also have the iPhone, the new iPhone, the XS Max.
Yes. With God, we're going to get along really well here. You got everything. Here's my Max.
There you go. Here's mine, right?
Yeah, I mean it's just
yeah. 256 AT&T, and I'm happy with it. Same with the iPad. The iPad I bought it 256 AT&T Wi-Fi, nice. So they're good to go. But that's in terms of the stuff I carry around with me. Hardware-wise, it's those two iOS devices, and in my car is a little iPhone tripod that I carry around with a clamp on it that you can put a tripod on it, or that you can put stick your phone into it, and also have another mount that is it's like I call it like a half gimbal because it's stabilized. It's a gimbal that's gyroscopically stabilized, but only on one axis. So kind of left and right, but not forward and back or anything. So. And that's it, and I purposely keep it minimal.
You should.
Yeah, it's purposely minimal for weight, for less complexity, and I want to be like, I'm not the guy that's running around. I call it the Iron Man suit people that put Iron Man suits on their iPhones with lenses and mounts and brackets and all this stuff, and you dig through all this complexity and there's a phone in there somewhere. I'm not that guy. I'm like, Apple worked really hard, and I used to work at Apple, so Apple worked really hard on these phones.
They did.
And why would I, I'm going to use the phone as intended for the most part. So that's kind of my MO.
And no lenses. You don't get into the lenses for your phone, do you? Okay.
No. Yeah, we've done shows on This Week in Photo about those third-party lenses. No disrespect to the people that love them. There's a lot of people that love them, like you do macro and telephoto and all that. But for me, as a photographer, remember, speaking from a photographer
exactly I asked you this question.
I look at those lenses and I think, well, okay, my phone is going to be a phone. I'm going to take shots that are designed to be captured with that particular device, which is, you've seen these shot on iPhone billboards, right? You can do a lot of cool stuff with that thing out of the box. And I haven't scratched the surface of what it can do. So I think it's disingenuous of me to say, I need to make Apple. Yeah, you're smart. Johnny Ive, you guys are smart. But I'm going to go buy this third party thing and slap it over the precision optics you guys spend billions of dollars creating. So I don't do that. And then from a photographer standpoint, it's I shoot mirrorless cameras. I'm a Lumix ambassador. So I have mirrorless Lumix cameras and a bunch of lenses. And, so my mindset is if I need to take photography where I need to have that much control over the shot, with lenses and a larger sensor size for more data and RAW and all that stuff, then I'll use the proper camera. Yeah. But for I would say most people, it's 99% of the stuff they shoot is with an iPhone. For photographers, it's probably closer to 80. So for 80% of the stuff I shoot, it's going to be with the iPhone. The rest is probably going to be planned in advance enough for me to go grab a proper camera.
Yeah, and you get to know me too. Is I was really into photography for a long time, and did darkroom work, did the film cameras. I had an old Nichromat EL, if you remember that camera.
I do. Yeah,
I had that tank. That was a tank. I loved that camera.
You could kill somebody with that thing.
Are you? And if you had your choice, are you Canon or Nikon?
Neither.
Neither. That's right. You're doing Lumix. That's right.
Lumix in the military for 8 years. The Air Force, I don't know if they still are, but the Air Force was primarily and only Nikon. So Nikon's in my blood. Yeah, Nikon's in my blood. If I was to go to a mirror, a larger camera other than the Panasonic, it would probably be to the Nikon Z series.
Yeah, I mean, I got the DSLR. I got a D7000, which is an older camera, but it's good for when I need it. I pull it out and take the pictures. Got a 18 to 200 zoom on it, but I mean, with this iPhone. Why? I mean, I just get
so crazy. Yeah,
I'm looking forward. I'm going to be doing a trolley tour here with my friend this week on Friday, and it's going to have the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago, zoo lights, and a lot of other stuff. I'm just going to take my iPhone. I'm going to take pictures. I just really want to do it. Just do it right. We want to make sure we take good pictures, and this iPhone XS Max has got an amazing camera. So
it is ridiculous. It is it blows my mind, especially with the depth of field or bokeh control after the fact. Yeah. When they first launched that, it was like, it's okay. It's I can see the mask it's trying to build. It's failing. This new version is clean. It is really clean, so much so that you're like, there's limitations, your distance when you actually distance from the camera lens to the subject, you have to be far enough away for it to gather enough the depth of detail. But beyond that, it's
phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. I mean, and when I was in the military, the images out of even 2 years ago iPhone rivaled what we were doing with multi-$1,000 multi-hundreds of pound kits back then.
Right, exactly.
With no connectivity, and no apps.
Yeah. So one other case I'll mention, Think Tank. Remember Think Tank?
Oh, yeah. Think Tank. I love those guys.
Remember this case? You see it on my camera, but not everybody else does. But I was in an obsession. I bought the fanny pack for my DSLR. I bought this pack here to hold all my stuff. Then I have small little pouches that are holding all my accessories. And, of course, it's not photography stuff. It's hard drives and all kinds of other stuff. They're another obsession of cases I've looked at too. So that's a Think Tank. So anyway, let's change gears here a little bit, and let's kick in and talk a little bit about photo editing on an iPad and or an iPhone. Affinity Photo and Photoshop, that's been kind of the big battle as of late as far as the editing tools that are out there. Adobe Photoshop, of course, is supposed to be getting released pretty soon here for iPhone, full out, that they demonstrated during when they rolled out the new iPad. What were your thoughts on the new Photoshop when you saw it during the show, during the event, the Apple event?
Impressed.
Yeah,
impressed. Yeah, very impressed, and I'm very excited to see. I want to play with it and see it in action. But the caveat with that is, there's the whole, and no faulting Adobe for switching their business model to subscription with Creative Cloud and all that. Sure. You got to make money, you got to satisfy shareholders, and you got to stay in business. So I understand that. But at the same time, looking at my little household economy,
yes, exactly.
Looking at these one-off apps that you just give them some money and you own the app, like in the old days, remember that?
Yes.
So the old days of just purchasing the bits and owning a couple of revisions and then maybe paying a small fee for an upgrade, later. Yeah. That's very attractive. And the Affinity Photo and those in InLight and those kinds of apps have made me take a step back and kind of really think. And I think a lot of people are in this boat. You take a step back and you think, am I really using all the features that I'm paying for? Or do I own a mansion and I'm living in one room of it, but I'm paying the mortgage and the taxes for this giant mansion? Or do I need something like a 3-bedroom home that is more than enough for what I need? Yeah. I could grow into it. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But Adobe Smart, right? Because there's certain things that I need Photoshop for currently, or that I think I need it for. So, but as you progress the conversation, we'll kind of get into where my mindset is with this stuff. Because it's the argument for keeping Photoshop around and even Lightroom around it's becoming thinner and thinner every single day, as we go down the line. And as iPads get more and more powerful, it's the argument for, if I'm going to do real work, I need to be on a proper computer. That's going away.
It really is, because that's been the debate. Yeah.
There's stuff I can do on my iPad that I can't do on the desktop, or that's easier to do on the iPad with the pencil.
With the pencil, yeah.
Sitting in front of the couch, chilling, relaxed, versus, okay, I have the MacBook Pro and it's serious and I'm getting all this stuff done.
Right.
And, you know,
well, I mean,
so.
I think too, like we talk about Adobe, and everybody bashes Adobe with going with the cloud subscription, and that's, it is what it is. This is what's going on in this world. I mean, Microsoft does it with Office 365. I mean, it isn't gonna. There's no way around it at this point.
Yeah.
I like the model. There's so many holdouts out there still running CS5, CS6, and they say, I'm still fine with this, but I'm not going to even upgrade my OS. I'm going to keep using CS6. I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
I'm not that guy. I can't do that.
No, you just can't anymore. You have to be reactive in with these products. I mean, you just can't at this point. I mean, yeah, granted, you're going to spend, if you get the full out subscription to Creative Cloud, it's $800 a year. I mean, it's a yearly subscription. I mean, it's a lot of money, but you got to decide, is it important to you? Right. Now, as far as editing and photography, I mean, I know Adobe is going to bring all their products over, and I mean, they were talking about Premiere coming in for video, and probably Illustrator, and possibly even InDesign. Who knows? I mean, there's going to, all those products are going to, if they come to the iPad, I mean, people are going to, like you said, we talked about 12.9 inch versus 11 inch. I mean, you may want that 12.9 inch and use that as your primary device. I mean, these designers are going to probably be, I mean, you're going to see more and more designers that's all they're doing now. They're not.
Or you may even shift. I was thinking, here's where my brain was when I got the 11 inch, because I'm in the world right now. So, my device ecosystem is MacBook Pro 15-inch Touch Bar with, I got the watch, albeit not the one that'll save my life, but I got the watch. I've got late model iPhone, the XS Max, and 11-inch iPad.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is, if I'm able to, it would be great to be able to to take the iPad Pro out. I'll keep it for the foreseeable future, obviously.
Sure.
But to be able to do the majority, if not all of my work on iOS, and have a 12-inch iPad as my main work computer, per se, and the 11-inch travels around with me everywhere I go, and then... Right. Just have, but I'm living in an iOS USB-C world versus sort of this fragmented world that I'm living in now, with multiple operating systems, different apps over here, nothing syncs. My MacBook doesn't have LTE on it, so it'd be nice to have everything all in one place and feel modern. So that if Adobe is working towards that direction and skating to where the puck is going to be, I think that's where the puck is going to be, in a lot of ways for a lot of people. There's caveats. Not everything can be done on a tablet. You need a proper computer, proper keyboard, the screen real estate, all that for a lot of work. But for me personally, for photography and content creation, if I can do it all on a lightweight device without a whole lot of overhead and the Mac OS operating system running behind the scenes, I'd be more than pleased to at least give it a shot.
Yeah. So you did start using Affinity Photo a little bit. I mean, Allison Sheridan did a great review on it. She had been really excited about it for a while. I've seen it kind of trail off a little bit about a lot of discussion about it. But where do you think it is now as far as its competitiveness with Photoshop?
I think it's highly competitive with Photoshop for all but power users and edge cases. In fact, I on This Week in Photo, I had Renee Robin on last week. And
I listened to the show. It was a great show.
Oh, cool. Yeah, she's a compositing artist, and I think I asked her I didn't ask her specifically about iOS. I asked her about the idea of being able to switch away from Photoshop into something else on whatever operating system she's using. She's on Windows. Yeah. And yeah. And she said, and that's a good point, the operating system, because her point was, she's an artist and she has muscle memory built in on how to use these apps, and she has a vision that pops in her head that eats away at the base of her skull that she has to go sit in the front of the computer and create. And the hot coals that she would have to walk over to learn a new software program or a new operating system is not worth it for her versus just sticking to what she knows and getting the work done. I would imagine there's a lot of people out there like that.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, I've been playing around with it. I think it's a lot easier to edit out, but I'll be the first to admit I'm no Photoshop expert by any means. You're a photographer and you probably use it a lot more and understand it a lot more than I do with layers, and I've been all these years, I've always wanted to be able to dig in and really learn it. And it seems like Affinity Photo is a good way to start if you're not a person who is very well versed in Photoshop to start. But I could see a professional, they're so used to Photoshop, they'd be like, oh yeah, it's going to be pretty tough to play with. But
in corporate, you're in corporate retouching houses.
Exactly.
It's kind of like you're in some office or in a situation where you need to know the Microsoft Office type, those suite of apps. And then you show up and you're like, I don't use Word, I use Pages. It's it can do most of what Word can do, but I don't use Excel. I use numbers. And numbers is fine for most of us. For most of us, but for people that are in corporate doing these multi-layered pivot tables and all this crazy stuff, they're gonna look at you like, "Well, come back when you grow up a little, and we'll work with you." It's not quite the same with Affinity and Photoshop, but it's similar in terms of being an industry standard. It's like going to Hollywood and saying, "Hey, I'm really good in iMovie," or "I'm really good in this app that you guys aren't using." So, but for your home use and for most of 90% of the things that I do, Affinity Photos perfectly fine. I would probably argue it's probably closer to 95 or more. It's perfectly fine.
And it's a bargain. Was it $20, $19.99, I think?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think that's a problem. For me, I think that's looking at it from a marketing perspective. There's this whole thing called price perception, and if you price something too low, humans, as most of us are, will assume that it's cheap and not worth it. So, but if you price it too high, you can't afford it. So you gotta the trick is to come in there so that people understand that this thing has some weight to it, and you're charging a fair amount of money that because it's worth it.
Right.
Versus not so much money that they can't afford it.
Right. So, definitely, I recommend anybody check it out. You can get it on your iPad, and for photo editing, it's you can't beat it. $20, my gosh.
Yeah. And it's on your phone, it's on your iPad, it's on all your devices, right?
I mean, I know Photoshop has it a little more least expensive. The Photoshop Express have you used that at all? Is it?
No. Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's horrible. It's for a certain demographic that ain't me.
Okay. All right.
It's like saying, kale is horrible. I don't like kale, but a lot of people do. So
yeah. So let's change gears a little bit here. I'll jump into some of the photography apps that I put on here, and you added a few as well. Yeah. Apple Clips that's been kind of a fun way to spread some video joy, as they have it on their website. Mm-hmm. And have you dabbled in Clips at all?
I have. I've played around with a little bit. It's I look at it. It's almost like an experiment in computational photography. Yeah. Because it's leveraging the two cameras and the depth map and AI features that are in the iPhone to allow you to selectively replace backgrounds in real time and do that kind of stuff that traditionally would have required green screen and all that kind of stuff. Now you can just do it wherever you are with software, and it'll just look at you and change your background. So those kind of things are pretty cool. But and the other side of it is I look at it as some people sitting in a room in Apple, and they're like, people seem to like the Snapchat thing. What can we do to snag up some of those people that like Snapchat? That's kind of what it feels like.
I'm old.
Yeah, me too.
I can't, me too. I've tried Snapchat. I can't.
I bounced right off. I
still have an account, but I don't remember last time I've gone on there. So, the other one that's always been very popular, and then Google had bought them, is Snapseed. And Snapseed is very powerful for being,
use it every day
for for being free. We've done as you may know, most of the listeners know, I'm the president of an Apple user group here in the Chicago area. We had a special interest group with photography, and we've also had some webinars, and we've had sessions just talking about using Snapseed and learning how to use it and to get into it, and the filters it's a great program and for free. And like you said, you use it every day.
Yeah, I use it every day. It's missing a couple things that I would love to have in it, but that thing is my go-to app. Like literally, I open that more than probably any other photo app on my phone.
Yeah.
And it's
to edit on your phone. Just think about that. I mean, you're editing this on your iPhone. I mean, you can pull out your iPad. Obviously, you'll get a much better view of the photo, but in a quick pinch, you want to do it on your phone, and especially us with having the 10s Max, having the nice big screen, that helps a little bit. But and then of course Apple has its own built-in Apple Photos, which is more so kind of like a Lightroom-ish. It stores your photos, organizes them for you. But it does have some they've really done a good job of adding some better editing features in it, don't you think? As far as
I do. It's more. Yeah, I look at Apple Photos as being more. It's down closer to the OS. Right, it's more married to the OS versus a third-party app that's running on the OS, because it's Apple, right? They can closely marry their software with their hardware.
Right.
But yeah, like I was saying in the beginning of this, I'm sort of in this transitional period, trying to get my brain around what my 2019 flow is going to look like, both on the video production side and on the photography side and on the hardware side with the iOS devices. So I'm trying to think through what's the best flow? Where should I be storing my photos? Where should I not be storing them? And in fact, that line of thinking led to tonight's episode. We're recording recording and streaming an episode of TWIP as we record this tonight in about an hour.
Nice.
And the topic of that show is privacy. So we're talking about privacy, pixels, and photos, and how to protect yourself. And all that's in light of Google testifying before Congress this week, and the Marriott breach, and Google shutting down Google Plus early because of breaches, and Apple,
I just went into my Google Plus app and I deleted everyone in my circles. I got rid of. I just emptied it. I have nobody left in my circles, and I just did it on my iPhone. I'm gonna go on tonight and just delete the account. I want to delete it ahead of everything else. It just disgusts me how bad that. I mean that Google just let that go into the tank, and it was sad. It was very sad. So, but it had some great options in social as well as photography and iOS, and there was a lot of good options it had. It just Google just failed.
It's a good example. It's a good referendum, I would say, on cloud services and the commitment and marketing that these multi-billion-dollar companies put behind these cloud services when they're all excited about them and they're dating, and they just met and it's the third date. Remember the Google even threw a Google Plus Photos conference in San Francisco, and with Trey Radcliffe and all these people there that were saying this is the next thing. We're committed to this platform, and Google, It was insane. It was like a TED Talk thing, but for photographers based around Google Plus. And then you fast forward to today, and it's like, we tried it, didn't work, we're done with it. Go get your images.
Remember Google Wave?
I remember Google Wave. Yeah, it's in the Google graveyard in their backyard.
Yeah, all the graveyard items that are out there with Google, but another app I always liked, and I think if I'm not wrong, the great photographer Lisa Bethany created this one as Camera Plus.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did.
She's a great photographer, and I know because I remember your show kind of came through with Leo Laporte, right? With his This Week In.
Exactly. We're cousins. We're cousins.
I remember her having a show on his network at one point. I used to watch all the time. It was I think it was This Week in was it This Week in Photo, or was it? I forgot what her show was.
No, they named it something else. It wasn't This Week in Photo.
Yeah.
It was something else.
But anyway, that's still a great app. I think it's considered legacy now. I think they're still developing it. Has anything else gone?
I haven't heard anything about Camera Plus lately. I think they're. I don't know if it's still being actively developed or if they're just letting it sort of die on the vine, because there's since Lisa and that team launched Camera Plus.
Right.
That was there were only a couple trees in the forest back then. Now it's
it's huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
This
competition is fierce.
This list we're going through could go. We could probably list another 20 or 30, even more probably.
Yeah, totally.
So a couple of these others I have not had any experience with, so I'm going to have you kind of lead the way. The first one I see here was Pixel Loop.
Yeah, you're going to dig that. That's from the folks that make InLight, I believe. Okay. But Pixel Loop is a what's the best way to describe it? You're familiar with cinemagraphs, right? Yes. Where you have a shot and it's a still shot, but there's some element in there that's moving. What Pixel Loop does, and Plotaverse as well, what those two apps do is let you take in a photo that you've already taken. Say it's a photo that has some clouds in it, and with a couple of little drags of the pencil or your finger on the screen, you can make those clouds move realistically.
Okay.
Which is crazy. It's almost like magic. Yeah, it's almost like magic. It does some really crazy math in there And there's masking where, if you, like, for example, if I had a shot of you standing on a mountain with clouds in the background and I wanted those clouds to move, I could paint a mask on you or drop some pins on you and the mountain to make sure that those things didn't move. And then, drag some vectors in the sky or some directional arrows in the sky, and the sky would just automatically start moving realistically. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other feature in there that blew me away, this really blew me away, man, was in Pixel Loop was their sky replacement feature. Really? And as a photographer, I was like, yeah, it's not going to work. It's going to look like crap. Come on. So, I tested it. I went online and I went on Google. Just, this is literally last night. Pulled down a couple of photos of landscapes and skylines with nice clouds in them, and then just loaded them into that app on the phone. I did it on the tablet and the phone, but on the phone, and said, replace the sky with this one. There's a reddish magic hour sky, with nice clouds in it. Found the buildings, replaced the sky, made a mask seamlessly with no work from me.
And this is on your iPad.
This is on the iPad and the phone.
and the iPhone. That's awesome. You're gonna be
crazy.
Like Chuck Joyner says, you're spending my money already here on these apps.
No, you gotta have that one. Yeah. It is. It's and just a tip, a photographer's tip about using Pixel Loop and apps like that, Plotiverse as well, is they work best. I would argue that Pixel Loop works better on they both work great on natural reoccurring patterns like clouds or random things like waves or grass in a field, those kind of things. You can animate those things realistically really easy from a still photograph. Where I would say Pixel Loop probably has a leg up over Plotiverse is in geometric patterns. Like a staircase or an escalator or something like that. You had a staircase, a static staircase that you want to turn into an escalator. You can do that in these these apps in about 10 minutes, literally. So you could have I like those stairs, make them turn into an escalator realistically in about 10 minutes. Crazy, crazy stuff.
And you keep mentioning Plotiverse. What's that one?
Very similar to Pixel Loop. They do very similar things. One of the big differences about Plotiverse is they're trying to build a community / ecosystem around the software where you go in and you build something cool, you upload it. And it's almost Facebook style where you upload it, or Google Plus style. You upload your photo, people can comment on it, they can follow you, they can hire you, that kind of thing.
Great.
So.
And you got just a couple others here: Motion Portrait, Live Portrait, Luma Fusion, and Enlight. Are those all similar? Or how do you?
No, yeah, I'll blow through these. I'm gonna spend your money. So.
No, I know it sounds like it already. As you see me in the show notes here, I'm putting the links in here. I'm ready to go look.
Yeah. So Motion Portrait. Yeah. So I'll give you a little background. I gave a talk in Ohio a couple of weeks ago, and the title of the talk is Time Travel for Photographers. And basically what the gist was, I was teaching people how to do this kind of stuff, add selective motion, long exposures, multiplicity, that kind of thing. And one of the questions that used to come up in my talks all the time was, well, that's great. I can animate these photos. It's beautiful, but only people online can see it, that have a proper computer or a tablet or a phone or whatever, which is fine because, everybody has that. So whatever. But then the question becomes, good old fashioned photos on the wall. Yeah. Those aren't going away anytime soon. Picture of your grandparents on the wall, your parents, your kids, or whatever on the wall. How do you merge that world with this new world? Enter motion portrait and live portrait. So specifically live portrait. So what live portrait does, let me make sure I explain this right because this is magical. It allows you to marry a still photo with a video, a short video clip, and using the app and augmented reality, it will, when it detects, if you run the app and aim the camera at a photo that you've loaded in any place in the world, it will see that photo, use recognition of some sort to say, oh yeah, that photo that goes with this video. It will replace that photo in frame, real time in augmented reality on your wall. So as you sort of move around, that video starts playing on the wall. So now you can see where this is going. Like with apps like Plotiverse and Pixel Loop, you can create, here's a picture of your wife on a hill and the clouds are moving in the background. You got a little music or whatever. You have that video. You take a still of that, print it, put it on the wall, and then look at it through that app, and suddenly the picture comes to life.
That's awesome.
Kind of Harry Potter style. It's very crazy. It's very cool. So that's live portrait. The motion portrait app is an app that allows you to again take a still photo and add animation to it. Photos, or portraits. Yep. So if I take a photo of you, I can load your face into the app, tell it where your eyes are and where your mouth is, and it'll bring that photo to life in 3D. Wow. start animating it and doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
And then these apps are all in your toolbox. You use these
I use them all.
Time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I use them all. I use them. All these are on my phone right now. LumaFusion. I'm surprised you haven't heard of LumaFusion. You've never heard of that one?
I may have. I have to go look at the. Let me see.
Yeah, LumaFusion is the iPad and iPhone answer.
I just bought this.
The Final Cut. Yeah, it's basically Final Cut.
Yeah. I just bought this, and I found it. Yeah, because I have Final Cut Pro, but I still have to start learning it, but is because they don't have Final Cut Pro for iPad, so
not yet.
But how funny! I just bought this.
Yeah, it is brilliant. You're gonna love it. Yeah, that was a wise purchase because LumaFusion is some people say it's like iMovie for your. It's not like iMovie. It is like
it's
Premiere or Final Cut on your device, and when I say device, on your iPad or your iPhone. Right, so you can be editing video, 4K video. I was testing LumaFusion last night. I was editing 4K video. I brought in green screened footage and keyed out the green. Had a layer with that. I had music, 3 tracks of music, or 1 track of music and 2 tracks of sound effects playing, and another effects layer on top, all on the iPad.
Oh my God, that's
and
awesome.
I did not drop one frame. It was completely fluid, and it was a. When you play with it, you'll understand because it feels like a completely different experience than editing with a mouse because you're sitting there, lean back in the chair with your tablet and a pencil, and you're dragging clips around that way, and it just feels more natural. It's so weird.
That's awesome. And then you have Enlight was the
last one that. Yeah, Enlight is another photo editing app. Okay. So if you're looking at photo editing apps and Photoshop type replacement software, definitely give Enlight a look because they actually make a suite of apps that are focused on semi-pro and professional level image processing.
Gotcha. I've got all these links in the show notes. Thanks for that great list. I want to change gears here a little bit and talk a little bit about photo storage and what were your favorite services. I kind of threw a few of mine in there. And then, of course, you being a professional, I know SmugMug would be number 1 on your list. We talked about Flickr a little bit. I'm just beyond excited what Flickr is now going to be. It's being getting away from Yahoo. Finally, in January, we can finally get rid of our Yahoo accounts on our Flickr, and because I kind of just disappeared. I'm assuming you're pretty active in Flickr, but I mean, I jumped on that discount they had when they first announced it. SmugMug, of course, bought Flickr, and it's so I took advantage of that big discount. So I'm good for another 2 years now. So I get 2019, 2020. So so. What's your thoughts on Flickr? It's good. I mean, I think
it is great. It is great, and you're right. Finally, they got away from the albatross that was Yahoo.
Yeah.
So they got away from it, and I know the guys at SmugMug personally.
Yeah,
and
I figured you did.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of their story. If you go on This Week in Photo and search SmugMug, you'll see a bunch of interviews I've done with the founders and different people that are associated with them. But it's a really sort of almost stereotypical Silicon Valley story where guy has idea guy has problem, guy solves problem, other people notice that guy solved problem and they also have that problem. Guy decides to monetize it and takes off and he can't keep up, with demand. It's that kind of thing. Along with their, this was interesting. This is a little inside baseball. When I was at Adobe, I was working at Adobe. Yep. I remember Adobe trying to buy SmugMug, and SmugMug said, "No, we don't want to be bought. We want to remain independent."
That was smart.
Yeah, because we wouldn't be where we are today.
No.
And they had some amazing foresight not to not to give all their marbles to a large corporation like Adobe, who would have probably swallowed them up, and they may have been gone by now.
Oh, they probably would have disappeared. Yeah. So
Yep.
I'm thrilled that SmugMug is. It sounds like they're going to leave Flickr as its own independent entity. The great thing is that no more free ride of 1 terabyte of space. You got 1,000 photos if you're a freebie person, and that should filter out a lot of the riffraff that was on Flickr, because there was a lot.
And I'm really happy about that.
Me too.
I'm happy to give them money to keep a premium service going versus,
$49?
making them, versus making them try to figure out how to monetize it with ads or this or that or whatever. Just charge us and make some cool stuff for us to, and make it bulletproof. That's all we ask, and they're doing it. So,
but again, SmugMug's more of a professional storage service. So if you're not really a professional photographer, it is a little more pricey as far as if you're looking to be very serious with your photos. And SmugMug's a great choice.
It is. It's a 1-2 punch, though. I mean, you've got if you're not professional or not in that world, then Flickr's probably more than what you'd ever need for, image sharing and community and all that. SmugMug, on the other hand, I'll call it SmugMug proper account, gives you things like being able to sell your photos, passworded galleries, and client-facing this and that, and couponing, and all that kind of stuff that a professional photographer might need. So you could grow into it from Flickr, but it's great that they have a solution for most of the audience right now.
And then the two others I have on here, we'll just mention casually. Google Photos, it's okay. I mean, they downsize your photo size to 16 megabit or 16 megapixel. So it's a good place to store photos, I guess. But if you got the money, go with Flickr. If you're going to store,
I would go with Flickr. I mean, for me, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, Google Photos is in the Google Plus family, and there's a lot of trust that's gone from that, and it's hard to, especially when you look at something like photos that you can't replace. Music is one thing, because you can always for some reason, I lost all my music on whatever service. There's tracks available on another service. You can go get it and reconstitute your library, right? Either at some cost or no cost at all. With your photos, if a company like Google decides, Google Plus Photos, that's not going away until it is, and now it's going away. Go clean out your locker, kid, because we're shutting that wing down, and you got to get your stuff out. I don't want to have to deal with that. So I'd rather place bets on services that I feel like nothing's going to be around forever, but I'd rather place bets on services that are at least going to be around for the next couple of years, and that aren't in Congress battling.
Exactly. So let's and I mentioned iCloud Photo Library. That's self-explanatory. That stores your photos. So let's take a time here. I just want to get through the rest of our stuff here, and I have a couple gear picks I picked. And you talked about in your bag having a clip that the tripod mount. I have the Glyph iPhone tripod mount. Thing is amazing.
I have that too.
$24, I think it is. It locks, and it's got, because I hated those ones where they were spring loaded. You always had to bring them back and forth to get the darn phone in there. And this one, it just sticks out, and you set it the way you want it, lock it in place. And it goes landscape, and it's tiny. It goes landscape or portrait, which is great. And it pairs nicely with, I also put in the Joby Gorilla Pod if you want to have a nice little tripod that you can wrap around and do some photo stuff. That was my gear.
You and I are brothers from another mother, because I use those same things.
And your two picks I have too. So go ahead, you can tell everybody what your two Apple picks were.
Down below. So my Apple picks are the on my phone, my Apple, the XS Max phone. The best case that I found, especially for photography, is the silicone case because of the grip on it. And I've tried the leather case from Apple. I've tried third-party cases, etc.
I got the leather because it.
And I love the leather's fine, but it's slippery.
The silicone was actually getting discolored for me when I would carry it. So, but the leather was. It's okay. I agree. It is slippery, the leather, but I agree on the silicone. Yep.
And the reason the leather, I would argue, looks better. Because it's leather, you got your little embossed or debossed Apple logo on there. But the silicone gives you just this extra level of grip, especially when taking photos, that it gives you that level of confidence to reach out with one hand and not feel like this thing is just going to jump out of your hand.
Right.
So, and none of this stuff is cheap. I mean, I think that this little dip of rubber is $50, right, at Apple?
Yeah, something like that. $39, $49, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And I got the same keyboard case for you as well as you mentioned for your iPad.
Yeah. Are you on the 12.9 or the 11 inch?
11. I have the 11. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And we had that. Yeah, I was going to have that debate, but we might have to do this on another show because time's getting close here. But yeah, I decided on the 11. I was tempted on the 12.9. I had owned the 12.9 the first generation, and it was just ginormous.
Yeah.
And, it's 11 inches is my baby. I'm really loving it, and I'm sure you are too. And then
I am really loving it. And I'll tell you, the one negative thing about that iPad keyboard cover case, whatever, that I've been hitting is two main negatives. I don't know if it's just me getting used to it or it's just a design flaw. Is the case attaches to the iPad magnetically, so there's really strong, I guess, rare earth magnets in there that hold the thing on. And I found that if I'm laying in bed or something and I grab the iPad wrong, it'll detach from it. Versus a case that's clamped on there, that's kind of permanent. You have to struggle to get it off. This one comes off a little bit too easy, which is I'm getting over that, but it is, it's something that you have to get used to, that it's not physically attached. There's some magnets holding it on. And then the other piece is and maybe I'm using the keyboard case wrong, but you don't have the ability to do that leaning down position. It's either you get two levels of upright, one angled and one kind of perpendicular to the ground or to the keyboard, and then that's it, or closed. Yeah. There's no, there's one that the older cases you could put it kind of a 20-degree angle and sort of sit down and draw on it like that. Right. You can't do that with this particular case. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's why they did the magnet thing, so that you could just take it off easy and throw that case on, a different case on it if you wanted to, or something. And
that's what I did. I bought the just the cover, the so it stands upright. The cover, so I have both.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Call me crazy.
So I'm gonna put in a request to Santa for that.
So man, this show just flew by. We had such a great time. The time has just disappeared on us. But I want to give you an opportunity, and it looks like I'm going to be spending some more money here. You put your link in, and then also tell everybody about you and where everybody can find you as your TWIP Pro course on iOS photography. It looks like I'm spending some more money here. Tell us about your course.
Yeah, so we, myself and another TWIP regular, Giulio Shorio, got together and decided that we wanted to do a course that just sort of covered the foundation of doing iOS photography, everything from best practices in shooting to like some of the things we talked about on this show, the hardware like the Joby Gorilla Pods and the tripod mounts that you should use, how to use the different modes properly, because you'd be surprised, a lot of people don't even understand how to use the different modes in there and what the limitations and possibilities are. So we cover all of that. It's almost like
that's awesome. Yeah.
You remember back in the day, David Pogue, New York Times, he used to write a series called The Missing Manual.
Yes.
It's kind of like The Missing Manual for
I can't believe those disappeared too.
Yeah, it disappeared when David went and worked he took on a position with Yahoo.
Yahoo, right.
Yeah, and I don't know where he is now.
I don't know where he went. So I see him on CBS News once in a while. But yeah. I can't thank you enough for being on the show, and I tell everybody where everybody can find you, and I'm gonna go on the stream and watch your show after this show. So let's tell everybody about the show and where we can find you.
Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for inviting me on. The show, This Week in Photo, we're one of the longest running photography related podcasts. I would argue probably in the solar system or in the universe. But you can't prove me wrong, can you? We're a weekly show, as the name would indicate. And the format of the show, there's two main things that we do. We will do a roundtable discussion, typically every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, where the topics of the week or whatever is just sort of hot right now, 3 photographers will get on and we'll sort of talk through it and provide our thoughts on what people should do or the direction or, whatever. So, it tends to be entertaining. I'm the host of the show, so I keep the cadence going and, let people get their thoughts in. And then the other part of the show is interviews. So I do a ton of one-on-one interviews. In fact, there's a library of hundreds of one-on-one interviews I've done with people from all corners of the industry talking about photography and business and marketing, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And the entire site is free. This Week in Photo. Awesome. Yeah, head over there, This Week in Photo, and that search bar is your friend. If there's somebody you want to look up, Joe McNally, David Hobby, Leo Laporte, whoever, just type their name into the search bar and it'll pull them up and you can listen and see what they have to say on particular issues.
All right, let me wrap this up here. So that's a wrap for this week. Please send us your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher. You can also find us in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and even on TuneIn Radio. Or better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to listen are there. You can listen to us. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Again, thank you, Frederick Van Johnson, for being here. What is your Twitter handle?
You can find me at, there's two places, Frederick Van or at This Week in Photo.
Great. Thanks for listening. Thanks again.